Hi everyone, I'm Geoff Paine. I'm the Content Curator for BehaviouWorks Australia, and with me is Denise Goodwin, a Research Fellow at BehaviouWorks Australia. Hi.
Hi.
Last night we presented number 4 in our series of Change Room live events, and the topic was ethics. Tell us, what's the ethical problem that got this whole Change Room event going?
So I had a bit of a dilemma when I moved house over whether or not we should be honest in the contract that our dog is not an outdoor dog. She's very much an indoor dog. So from a very harmless conversation about my Great Dane puppy, we ended up in this big, huge area of ethics and behaviour change.
Around 1979, China had a massive population problem. They were growing exponentially, and it was and still is the most populous country in the world. And so the government instigated the one-child policy, and it had a number of unintended consequences. Mm-hmm.
So some of the unintended consequences was obviously we ended up with, is it 30 million more men
30 million
than
more
women?
Men. And of course, another 30 years down the track, they will have less workers to support an ageing population and children that are produced.
They actually changed the policy, because there was this, we won't even get into the women issue,
right,
of why there's more men than women. But what came into place was that if you actually have a female as your first child, you can then go on to have a second one, because they did realise that this was actually causing a lot of social issues.
So the one-child policy is an extraordinary, huge national government intervention because of overpopulation. Mm-hmm. The next slide showed another government intervention. It was a behaviour change intervention in Italy, which had the opposite problem. Beauty has no age, but fertility does. Yes? I can feel the love in the room right now.
So,
Italy had the opposite problem.
Yeah. So this is a genuine media campaign done in Italy, and it made my blood boil. Oh, there's so many problems with that. But to mention just a few, obviously, if you start putting on your systems thinking hat, it's great to say, yes, we need more children, and then we need to sort of more procreate more, but you need to create the conditions in order to do that.
So then we threw the audience a big question. Okay, so the results are in. We have 60% say no, 40% say yes.
The no jab, no play actually has, as I said, systems thinker, a lot of unintended consequences. We really do want everyone to be immunised, but if we just look at it from a health perspective, if you just base it on just being immunised, people are actually going to be missing out on that and potentially disadvantaged. And we're talking about children who aren't being allowed to make those choices themselves. So there's a lot of other unintended consequences, again, that come from a policy like no jab, no play.
Which of the following is considered a no-no when conducting research? And there were 4 options: calling participants on their mobile phones, emailing them directly, offering them any form of inducements, and keeping them uninformed about the research topic. Now, this was a kind of trick question, because in fact, all of those are tricky when it comes to behavioural research.
You can, at the end of the day, as long as you tick all the boxes and make sure your protocol and your approach is correct, you can eventually call participants on their mobile. But because of the laws that we're bound to, privacy laws, and the ethics that we have to follow, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to be able to do that. But they're in place to make sure the checks and measures are there, so that we're just not going out and contacting people willy-nilly. There's a certain protocol that we have to follow to make sure that we're doing no harm.